This is Dreamtime Land, Australia's top end. A natural wilderness, rich and remote, yet not untouched by the hand of man. For millennia he's left his mark upon the rock.
It's got a lot of, within the sort of near area, there's a lot of really nice places to go, different scenery, and there's some really nice, peaceful places around.
Where as soon as the name of the place is concerned, you think of all the good times. Never remember the bad times on a building site. You always remember the good times. And there's always heaps of those, as there has been here in Jabiru.
Named in spirit tribute to the black-necked stork, Jabiru is a mining town, a modern mini-metropolis.
This rounds up a cycle of developments which is of profound significance.
Its official opening by Deputy Prime Minister Doug Anthony in July 1982 climaxed years of planning and construction by a skilled and dedicated workforce of more than 600 men and women.
Particularly for the many skilled children who will, as they grow up, recall this event. But of course it's not a ceremony just about buildings and equipment, as significant as they might be. It's also a ceremony about people who have recognised and picked up the importance of being associated with the development of a resource. Jabiru development is taking place in a very special, environmentally sensitive area, and an area of special importance to the Aboriginal people. Can you imagine what this town would have been like?
Located 250 kilometres east of Darwin, Jabiru has been landscaped into the environmentally sensitive Kakadu National Park. 3 mining companies, Ranger, Pancontinental and Koongarra, hold leases here encompassing some of the biggest uranium deposits in the world. Ranger was first to win approval for development. Their parent company, Energy Resources of Australia, joined together with the Commonwealth and Northern Territory governments to contribute funds for the project, and looking ahead, planned one town to service all the mines as they came into operation. And so the Jabiru Town Development Authority was formed to coordinate and finance a $92 million venture, the construction of a town designed for expansion, with the potential capacity to house up to 6,000 people.
Lots of money's been spent to ensure that the environment stays as untouched as possible, and rightly so too.
The Australian National Parks and Wildlife Service were careful that the area regain its natural beauty as soon as possible. Certain trees were selected and tagged. Damage them and you could receive a heavy penalty, up to $10,000.
They left most of the natural shrubbery and trees about, which makes a huge difference to the building, and what happens when it's finished makes it more difficult, I guess, for plumbers and people laying pipes and what have you, but the result is certainly worth it.
To manage the entire project, the Jabiru Town Development Authority, JTDA, chose Cameron, McNamara and Menenko. They were given the task of designing and development as well as overall supervision.
All happened very quickly, and it's probably hard for someone that's coming in now to sort of imagine what it was really like when it was just bush and nothing else. Initially it was just sort of pegs put out, and probably one of the first things that I can remember was bush being cleared and sort of tracks being put through, and you were being told, well, this is where such and such is going to be, and this is where such and such is going to be, and you sort of think, my goodness, you know. It seemed hard to grasp. But as things started taking a little bit more shape, perhaps like even curving to a road or something like that, you could sort of perhaps visualise it more when you sort of looked at a proposed map of what the town was really going to look like.
Construction commenced in July 1979, and in addition to surveying, clearing and general roadworks, on-site water was an essential early priority. Bores drilled on the edge of the future town site provided the initial temporary supply. Jabiru's main supply would come later, with the completion of a 22-kilometre pipeline from Nanambu. The first power supply to the camp was also a temporary expedient. The town's electricity would eventually be generated at Ranger. Even so, the number 1 power station had a 1,000 kilowatt capacity. In addition to the future town's essential services, its roads, water supply, its power and sewerage system, much of the early work was devoted to building the temporary construction camps, making them as comfortable as possible for the many workers, men and women, who would come and stay perhaps only briefly before their part of the job was done.
The town itself had a character, but no defined streets, boundaries, paths and so on. But within a few short months we were swinging there with bitumen roads, electricity, and it was a really good scene. So busy, we probably didn't notice all the growth happening around us. You could go to the mine from one week to the next and suddenly there was a monumental change. Buildings just sprung up overnight, as it were.
October 1979 saw the foundations laid for the town's first permanent water storage. While a pipeline for the supply from Nanambu Creek was still under construction, work progressed on the on-ground reinforced concrete 5 million litre capacity reservoir. The artesian reserves at Nanambu Creek are extensive, good sweet water in abundance, and to ensure a dependable, regular day-to-day supply and good pressure, Jabiru's reservoir capacity is supplemented by a second, huge 750,000 litre holding tank, a towering mushroom-like structure of precast concrete, which demanded unusual and ingenious engineering techniques. Its completion coincided with the end of the first year's construction at Jabiru, a massive milestone and landmark. In August 1980, the Northern Territory Minister for Mines and Energy, Mr. Ian Tuxworth, marks the beginning of the second year's construction at Jabiru by handing over the keys of the new town's first permanent ranger home. The transition from building site to mining community has begun.
The activity that we see going on around us is very encouraging to us as a government, because people have got their tails in the air and they're going like mad, and they're carrying out the things that we would like to see done in the Territory in the shortest possible time. And we're, from a government point of view, very proud of everybody that's been involved in it. Having said those few words, Don, I will now pass to you, as the owner of the house, the keys from the government, and wish you every success in building a couple of hundred more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For Nick Jastremski, a mine shift supervisor for Ranger, his wife Dee and their 3 sons, it was the start of a new life. For Jabiru, it was a significant phase in development, heralding a year of growth and progress. The location of Jabiru imposes its own special problems. Although the town is linked to Darwin with a good bitumen road, all materials must be trucked in from hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometres away. And although some buildings are still being transported, most are now being erected on site. Despite the problems of outback construction and geographic isolation, the standards here are high. Jabiru is as well planned and constructed as any mining town in the world today. The houses attractively designed and soundly built, taking advantage of solar power as well as the natural beauty of the bushland environment. Before opening day, the JTDA planned to finish 247 houses, 38 townhouses and 183 units for single accommodation, as well as the completed infrastructure of roads, urban amenities and community services, including deep drainage and sewage treatment lagoons. The main sewerage system has been planned with a forward-thinking over-design factor, allowing the town to eventually accommodate up to the 6,000 people, 3 times the initial projected size, as a precaution against the time when all 3 mines could be operating at full capacity. Telephones already link the budding town with the outside world. Television and ABC radio network links are also established, providing air media information and entertainment. And good progress is being made on the main electrical power supply from the generators at Ranger. The digging and backfilling is a continuing process. For as far as possible, the essential services will be hidden underground. Progress seems slow, but in fact its pace is quite remarkable. Men and machinery combining to keep the job moving. Whether digging 600 metres of trench in a day, or laying a continuous ribbon of roadside curbing with hardly a break except for lunch. They're kept on the go in the kitchens too. 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. Catering is an unsung, behind-the-scenes job of vital importance. When it comes to food, a construction camp is even more demanding than the army. And Jabiru's food is first class, generously served and needs to be. Appetites here are like the job itself, big. May 1981 saw 2 more milestones reached. The first private enterprise in Jabiru was open for business and looking forward to new customers as more and more families moved into the town. Then, of course, there was the new school.
The school was absolutely beautiful. My kids really love coming to the school.
The school itself, we had room for 200 kids where we only had room for 70 before. It was so far from Darwin, so far from the main centres, it was just staggering, the time factors. The school here, the brick building, was built in 8 months from go to woe, which is very difficult to build even in Sydney, a place of this nature. So we were very proud of the efforts of the construction people and certainly appreciate it when we had so many children coming.
I suppose we were both a bit apprehensive in the initial stage. It's, you come to a mining town, you don't really know what to expect. Now she doesn't want to leave, and neither do I. It grows on you, and you grow up with the town. It makes a big difference, I suppose. Once you move into a place that's already established, it takes a while to sort of get yourself orientated, and that hasn't been the case. We've sort of grown as the place has progressed.
By the end of the second year's construction, Jabiru was already home to over 1,000 people. Thoughtful town planning was paying dividends in a relaxed and pleasant lifestyle, with a beautiful man-made lake providing an attractive central focal point for community activities.
Oh, a few more things to go, but we're certainly improving. It's a lot different to what it was 2 years ago.
It was a lot different. Not quite a town yet, so the pace didn't slacken. Jabiru's builders now concentrated on the amenities and services. The hospital had high priority and rapidly began to take shape.
I suppose you're always sort of looking forward to the next step once you're here. It normally starts off with rumours where someone says they're going to build this, and then you wait for it to start. Then you can't wait for it to finish.
I'm truly proud to be part of it. It's been a good contract. Certainly not without its problems.
Not the least of these was the tropical wet season, 4 months of every year when heavy flooding rains drum down almost daily. For the rest of the year there's sunshine, but in the wet it's difficult to go places. Difficult, but not impossible. At Jabiru, a combination of perseverance, hard work, water pumps, ingenuity and quite a few square metres of plastic sheeting enabled construction to be kept on the move. Even the Olympic-sized swimming pool had water in it, somewhat ahead of schedule. All in all, the annual wet was not welcomed by the construction crews. But for those lucky enough to be working inside, like the carpenters finishing off the Ranger mess, there was no real problem. All was shipshape and ready well before Melbourne Cup Day. That first Tuesday in November attracted a big crowd. A good time was had by all. The ladies' cup luncheon came complete with fashion parade and horsey hats. To be honest, work did stop for the Cup, and Jabiru had a winner. They were off and running in the town centre too. Work had started on a complex of shops, supermarket and child minding centre, community hall, police station and courthouse.
We all used to wander around. You'd go for walks on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday when the construction people weren't there and try and work out what part of the school was what and what part of the shopping centre was going to be the supermarket and what part was going to be the takeaway. And then to see it all open, it's really good.
The courthouse and police station already had that open for business look about them. And although not quite finished inside, it is business as usual. Quiet, without too many worries. Felons in Jabiru are few and far between. It's a very peaceful, safe community. The townsfolk like it that way, yet are grateful that emergency services are there, alert, ready to help in any time of need. At the fire station, most of the water goes to help the trees and lawns. The hospital isn't far behind. It's being finished off. The landscaping gardeners are there, hard at work, measuring up for planting. Nearby, on the edge of the lake, the Jabiru Sports and Recreation Club looks almost ready to make its contribution to life in Jabiru and its lively social scene.
The town provides just about everything you would expect in any of the larger towns. There's a golf course being constructed, a private club, there's tennis courts, swimming pool, all of very high standing. There's a lot of social life. There's a fairly heavy emphasis here on the camping, fishing type aspect, and obviously with the town being in almost the centre of the national park, there's plenty of scope for that sort of activity.
Well, there's every sport you can think of. You know, football, cricket, leagues just started up, soccer, that's going strong. All of our trips that we've had so far apply even more when you're with the bush is ideal for scouting. The kids love it. Because your scars are different. Everybody else has got different coloured scars. You're the opposite.
By now, almost all Jabiru was open for business. Trees had grown around the local service station. It looked as if it could have been there for years.
The shops are there, the plaza's looking beaut. The services are there. Oh, it's got potential.
Since the supermarket opened, it was only a fortnight ago or so, the whole town centre's really changed. Before that, there was only the bank, the hairdresser and our office that were open. And the bank, I guess, would have seen the most clients. But the plaza itself, you know, you might be lucky if you see one or two people around when you glance out. But now, there's always people around.
The houses blend in, the escarpment's the backdrop. I don't think you really wish for a better setting for a small town.
Well, I like the way the streets are laid out. The kids don't have to cross any main roads to get to school or to get to the shopping centre. It's quite safe. All the main roads are interlinked with little walkways, and it's really, really safe for the kids. There's the lake, which is really fantastic. You know, for yachting and sailing and canoeing, we use that a lot. It's unreal.
The weather's beautiful and everything's so beautifully green and the grass grows so quickly. It's a magnificent place.
Well, I fly to come out here, and it's probably one of the better moves I've made in my 15 years in the Territory. I've really enjoyed my stay here, and I hope I can stay here for a few more years.
Yeah, I'll be happy to stay here another 10 years.
Jabiru is no longer a construction site. It's a fully fledged mining town with quite a few old established residents.
Well, there's not many here longer than me who weren't the original company prospecting group.
All I can say is that it's a great place to live in. I'm enjoying myself here. I think a lot of people in the community enjoy their stay here. It's great to have been involved and been here while the town's been constructed. And it's something that I won't forget for a long time.
We moved into the 6th house and we've been very happy here. Seen the place really grow.
Jabiru is still growing, but while new families, settlers come in, many of the town's builders must somewhat sadly say farewell.
And now, of course, it's time to move on. My job has been completed. The township's, that's a going concern. As I leave tomorrow, there's going to be some soft moments going down that Arnhem Highway for the last time.
A better constructed town anywhere in the world than Jabiru. It's a credit to all of you people who've made it what it is.
Now it's up to the folks here in Jabiru, be they Ranger, Jabiru Township Development Authority, governmental departments. They've now got to take it, and they've got to make a town as such out of it. We've made the bricks and mortar side of it. Now, go for it.